episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside my co-host and good friend London Beth. And today we are heating on training camp day 18, Monday, August 23rd, 2021. Great news for the offensive line as Germain Ifedi is back at practice and Jason Peters is also practicing. Where was Akiem Hicks, Jaylon Johnson, and Desmond Trufant today? And the Raiders wanted Khalil Mack back, according to sources, this past offseason. So was there going to be a reunion? Not even close. We have much more to go over than that, but before we dive into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Stupid Car Tray. Tired of your pizza topping sliding, office coffee distracting you while driving, grease and other stains getting on your seat, or you're just enjoying a game on the couch and don't want to lean over? Look no further than the Stupid Car Tray. Proudly USA made, Stupid Car Tray makes your passenger seat or couch a level surface for all transportation and couch potato needs. With accessories like the Stupid Seat Anchor, hand sanitizer bottle, or 100% silicone grip mat, your tray is the ultimate car organizer. With over 20 different color combinations, there's a Stupid Car Tray for everyone. Visit www.stupidcartray.com and use discount code J16 to get 16% off your entire order. Link in the description.
Nick, I got a Stupid Car Tray and I use it almost every day in the office now and on the way to work. Make sure you head over to their website in the description and use code JAY16 to check it out. Let's get into it.
All right. Starting off first, the biggest news again from training camp today was the offensive line as it continues to reach that 100% healthy, good to go status for the upcoming season. Germain Ifedi, who played right tackle for the Chicago Bears last year, is back after being on the physically unable to perform list with a hip flexor injury. Huge for the Chicago Bears, especially after this past weekend where the Bills really made Andy Dalton and Justin Fields' life a lot of trouble. Yes, the second stringers were out there for most of the game, but it gives us that confidence that we're going to have the best offensive line possible out there week one against the L.A. Rams. Ifedi was considered a bust before coming to the Chicago Bears last season as the former first rounder who was drafted by the Seattle Seahawks. Never really panned out in Seattle. He kind of struggled, had a lot of injuries, wasn't really the player that they were hoping he was going to be. A fresh start is something that everyone needs, and guess what? Ifedi in Chicago was what they needed, what he needed and what this team needed. So really good to have him back. And then also newly signed left tackle Jason Peters is officially in pads, officially playing full speed. And he's looking like a very large impact, not only as him as a person, but his physical ability for the Chicago Bears offensive line. He's a large guy, 6'4", 328. He can move, 9-time Pro Bowler. Yes, he is not the player that he once was for the Philadelphia Eagles, but he is definitely better than what we put out there on the field so far. A great veteran filler for Tevin Jenkins and also to teach Larry Borum. And he brings an awesome attitude to this team. According to Adam Hodge, I really don't think I have anything to prove. I just want to win and get another ring. From left to right, the starting offensive line for the Chicago Bears is going to be left tackle Jason Peters, left guard Cody Whitehair, center Sam Mustipher, right guard James Daniels, and right tackle Germain Ifedi. Looks much improved compared to 2 weeks ago. London, what do you think of this offensive line? And should the Chicago Bears still give Borum a chance to fight for a starting spot, though it looks like it's Jason Peters as of right now?
Yeah, I'll get into Larry Borum here in a second, but the first I want to say is this offensive line interior wise, meaning left guard, right guard, and center, is absolutely lock, set, key, awesome. Okay. I know our left end and our right end have kind of been going around. Having Germain Ifedi come back to practice and get off the physically unable to perform list is something that, again, I cannot stress how happy I was waking up this morning and seeing that he was off that list and that was going to start hitting practice. Our right side against the Bills was completely exposed. It was really, really tough. Now, again, going into Larry Borum here, he actually did a very good job at left tackle. A lot of people in our comments were talking about how we should have talked about him a little bit more. Again, we were just kind of waiting and seeing to see, what was happening with Jason Peters and kind of how that whole thing was going to, play out. But I really do think that right now, as long as Jason Peters, I think, will be the starting left tackle, but Larry Borum really pushed himself into that conversation of if an injury happens or, switching guys out, or if we go into a bigger set, he will be the guy going in there. That is so awesome. The door opened for Larry. He took full advantage of it, got in there. But overall, in regards to this offensive line, I'm way, way better with it. I talked way back when Jason Peters, before he even touched practice, I said, hey, this kind of reminds me of like an Andrew Whitworth signing where the Rams had a young but up and coming offensive line. They just needed a left tackle that was going to come in and be that dominant veteran. And Whitworth was on his way out. He was going to retire. He already made all of his money. He was like, I'm out of here, all that kind of stuff. They brought him in, and he's continuing to every single year come back. He had an injury last year, and he's still coming back this year. So he has a love for the game, and I think Jason Peters is exactly that. That signing, weirdly enough, when they signed Andrew Whitworth, that offensive line was a top 3 offensive line in the league, and they went to the Super Bowl that year. Not saying anything, not alluding to anything, but this Jason Peters, this Jason Peters signing feels a lot like that. Bears fans out there, everybody in our comments, please just go look and kind of see the comparisons of it. He's talking about he wants another ring, so he knows this is a winning, can be a winning organization and a winning team. So overall, super excited. Welcome back, Germain Ifedi. We're happy to have you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really happy that you hit on also that Jason Peters game recognizes game. The guy's a 9-time Pro Bowler, played on some very good Philadelphia teams, and has a Super Bowl ring. He wants to win another one. And, obviously teams are going to need offensive linemen as the season goes on. And I'm sure that Jason Peters has gotten calls ahead of time, but the Bears came calling. He's like, hey, I think they have the best shot. Let's go. Let's get it done. So very good to see him on this team. Again, he brings that mentor leadership. And we play the Rams week 1. Are we getting a little bit of that luck from a couple years ago coming over? Who knows? The football, the sports gods have weird ways of working. Let's just say that. To the offense, someone I really want to continue to hit on. I know we hit on it yesterday. Rodney Adams continues to push himself to get a roster spot. The Bears have a lot of wide receivers. They also did sign wide receiver Isaiah Coulter. I think that's
Coulter.
I think
it's Coulter.
Coulter. Excuse me. Thank you for the correction. Former 5th-round pick from the Houston Texans. Tall, fast wide receiver. But Rodney Adams is the same guy. He's a pretty tall guy, fast wide receiver, good hands. Especially from what we saw this past Saturday against the Buffalo Bills, he's really pushing himself. The Bears have a lot of decisions to make in regards to the wide receiver position. But London. Does this situation kind of kick Riley Ridley and Javon Wims out the door at this point? 2 guys proving themselves pretty well at camp so far. Isaiah also had a good practice today. His first catch was a touchdown from Justin Fields, according to reports. So thoughts on, is this kind of the Bears saying, Javon and Riley Ridley, see ya, have a good day?
Yeah, I think so. Isaiah Coulter came from a small college. He came from Rhode Island Rams University. And I do remember him. He was a very quick guy, was a 5th-round pick. He was kind of like, he's a 5th-round pick. So he kind of overlooked and stuff like that, but flashed some kind of speediness when he got into the games for the Texans. And believe me, he got playing time for the Houston Texans. So I was actually kind of surprised. Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised that they cut him. I think this is the daunting understanding of what Javon Wims and Riley Ridley's futures are about to look like. Bringing him in, I think, Rodney Adams is pushing for that 6th spot, probably that 6th spot on our depth chart. And I think Isaiah Coulter is coming in and saying, hey, Javon Wims, Riley Ridley, your time is over. Give me a shot. So I agree. I think this is exactly what it is. I think overall Nagy and the offensive personnel for the Chicago Bears are not impressed with at least the back half of our wide receivers, not including like Mooney, Goodwin, Allen Robinson, and Daz Newsome, I think, is in there. But if you look at the breakdown of the snap count from the game or whatever, like Daz Newsome didn't get a high snap count. I think he got like 14%. That usually indicates that he's going to make the roster. They don't need to see anything else.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And again, he has a legitimate NFL contract with the Chicago Bears. I'm not sure if it's a 2-way or not. I didn't see too many details on Daz Newsome's contract. So we can get back to you guys on that. We'll circle back. So apologies on that. But, also a lot of people are concerned with special teams as of right now for the Chicago Bears. So I could see that these guys could be used as special teamers, big, fast guys, and also, that double threat of going on the offense and filling in when needed. So more to come on that. A little bit about Andy Dalton and Justin Fields. I know usually we hit on them right away, but the offensive line was just super exciting. So we definitely wanted to make sure we hit on that today. But Andy Dalton is still the 1st-string quarterback. He ran all reps with the ones, though Justin Fields did today get seen throwing to players on the ones. So he still had the second string offensive line, but in drills, he was seen throwing to Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Jimmy Graham. This is what needs to happen in regards to growing Fields' confidence. This is what, like, you play with better players, you get more confidence, you learn the game faster. Also, Fields deals with drops all day. Can't take a mental tone. I don't think it's really doing it for Justin Fields. He's a pretty smart and mature guy. But, more NFL ready people. This is what happened. This is what needs to happen for Justin Fields to get on the field in due time. In due time. Big disclaimer on that. He is still not ready for week 1. But this is what's going to help him get ready to play in the NFL when it's ready. Andy Dalton. I honestly, if he played with a healthy first string offensive line, I think we would have had a better day against the Bills. But he's still learning just as much as Justin Fields. This is his first year with the Chicago Bears. And I think a lot of people need to step back. Yes, he's a veteran. He's learning very quickly as well. He's impressing Andy Dalton, Bill Lazor, and the coaching staff. He also has Darnell Mooney and Allen Robinson talking highly of him. And shout out to Justin Fields was saying, I would really prefer if fans did not chant my name when Andy Dalton was out there. He's a human being too. He's a mentor to Fields. He's preparing Fields for the best success in the future. And that's kind of the argument that we're getting across here is, Andy Dalton is learning just as much as Justin Fields. Yes, he has more experience. Yes, he has better game management. Yes, he understands the flow of the NFL. Let him start week 1, and we will go from there. So that's it from the offense. London, any more thoughts on the Andy Dalton, Justin Fields situation before we go to the defense?
No, not at all. I think today, Justin Fields, I know a lot of people are going to be like, the media got to Matt Nagy and everybody, so they're starting to give Justin Fields first team reps. I don't think that's true. I think that this was scripted. They have an entire training camp already planned out. And I think after the second preseason, they were going to start putting him in with other players if he was succeeding. This should be a positive thing. Bears fans should be cheering. They should not be putting anybody down on the team. But I think this was definitely in the plans before training camp even started. So I'm very glad to hear to the both of them, and also Justin Fields. Kudos to you, man. Being a mature, young 20-year-old guy saying, hey, Andy Dalton's the starter. He's a mentor to me. He's a good buddy, all that kind of stuff. Don't sit there and chant my name when I'm out there. My time will come. This is Andy Dalton's time.
You mean when Andy Dalton's out there, don't chant?
Yes. Don't chant my name. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No worries. But I will say this is that, and it's a 1-year contract. And, it's Andy Dalton has just as much to prove as anybody else. But right now, Justin Fields is doing everything right. Very happy to see that. Let's move to the defense, though. A lot of interesting news from the defense today. No Akiem Hicks. Desmond Trufant was not a show today again. And no Jaylon Johnson. We want to get into Jaylon Johnson just to clear things up for Bears fans. Hicks. We are going to continue to monitor this situation. Could have been a Veterans Day off, not announced. Also, he does have some personal things going on off the field, as we found out last week. Again, no information, no right to know that information. He is a human being too. Hope all is well with Akiem Hicks. Hopefully we see him back at practice tomorrow. Desmond Trufant, who has not been talked about a lot at all at camp. A lot of people haven't seen him. He was out again today. No injury report or anything like that. Very well could be on his way out the door to save the Bears some money with his contract. So, London and I have been hitting on that. I want to talk to you about that in a second, London, but Jaylon Johnson, quickly want to clear up what happened. Late last night, Johnson, during the L.A. Chargers and San Francisco 49ers game, tweeted, quote, I hate when players point the finger and cry when something doesn't go right. Take the L and talk to them on the side and get it resolved. Never embarrass them. In regards to this, so a lot of people were freaking out because this happened the day after a very bad Bills game. But there was a lot of speculation, and it was confirmed that it was 49ers versus Chargers when Trey Lance threw a touchdown, and the Chargers defensive back blamed his teammates on TV, is pointing at them, calling them out. There was no reports at anything being against Bear players. So great news to hear that. London said it to me before the podcast. Great news to hear that there's no beef in the Bears locker room. Obviously, things have been, after a game again, a lot of these guys know it's preseason. And after a game like that could be stressful. Guys could get emotional, but it was not towards any Chicago Bears. So good to hear. So London, thoughts on these three players not at practice? And do you think Desmond Trufant's time is officially done in Chicago?
Yeah, I'm going to hit on Akiem Hicks and Jaylon Johnson first. Jaylon Johnson, I'm almost 100% was probably just getting a break. He's been playing a lot of preseason. He's been doing pretty well. You got to have your body recover, especially when you're going to be the number one corner in Chicago. Don't waste him. You know what I mean? So I'm sure he's just getting a little break like Khalil Mack got last week. Akiem Hicks, A little bit more, I would say on a 1 to 10, I'm like, Jaylon Johnson not being there, 0, no panic. Akiem Hicks, to me, I think is starting to creep up to about a 3 or 4 on my, panic meter to 10. And the only reason why is because I think the reason why he's not at practice is because he's in negotiations for a contract extension. If the contract extension happens, we keep him for a year or two longer, and it's a really, really healthy and good veteran contract. That would be really awesome. If it doesn't happen, I think that can have a trickle down effect of how he plays this season, or could be an effect since he's such a veteran leader on this team. So I think it's either due to personal reasons or something to do with his contract, because his agent was talking about that, and they might be in meetings, with upper people in the Chicago Bears, so that's just what I think it is. Desmond Trufant, I want to hit on him last. Okay, Desmond, man, listen, it's been tough. I'm sure he's probably out the door. I was reading through Twitter and people said they haven't really spotted him for a couple days now. He hasn't really been at practice. I don't really know what's going on with him. He just seems like he really hasn't had the headspace or really been like there in Chicago when other players are. And this has been a huge problem for our defense. Okay. Huge. The lack of effort and the lack of just feeling like they're actually in the game is something that we saw very prevalent against the Bills. And I know we're going to hit on it in a second here. Desmond Trufant is a huge culprit of that. I hope they do cut him. I think it's time. Save some money. Even though Kindle Vildor did struggle a little bit, I do think that it's time to move.
It's time. Yep, I agree. And, you wish the player success after, but right now for the Chicago Bears, it's just not working out. So, and Nagy kind of spoke on that. Nagy spoke on a big issue that the Bears hit, and I know you were starting to get into that, London. So we have the exact quote from Brad Briggs from this morning's press conference with Coach Nagy in regards to the defense. And I say, quote, the biggest thing for us, this is from Matt Nagy, quote, the biggest thing for us is where we're at right now. There are going to be a lot of one-on-one stuff that goes on, whether it be one-on-one man or it's just simple man coverage or it's different coverages that you present in zone. I think probably the biggest thing was just tackling, and we had a couple penalties on third down where we were on offense and we did the same thing. That's my biggest part is, okay, when we're out here to play, we tackle and we're going to drive down the field and we're going to stop them in the red zone. I thought we were in a good position on 4th and 1 and they made a better play than us. That's part of football. Our guys see, though, we're going to watch this together as a team and coaches today and go through it. And tackling is going to be our number one priority this week. It was a rough game. In London, you hit on it yesterday too. A lot of missed tackles, a lot of struggles. Kindle Vildor, just was one call out of it. I called out Robert Quinn, even though you said he did the right thing. Still could have potentially made that play. Eddie Jackson had a rough, missed opportunity, in the red zone. A lot of situations, and Matt Nagy recognizes that, which is good. I'm still very upset with just the effort, and everything comes from the head coach. The head coach is the leader of this team. And if you are not lighting a fire under these guys, Sean Desai should not be the one just saying, if you want to play on this football team, you need to give 100%. Matt Nagy should be standing in front right after a game and expressing his frustration and saying, I don't care if it's preseason because I want to win a damn Super Bowl, just to make that clear. So Matt Nagy, saying this, that's just his weird way of handling it. I still think that he should give more effort in regards to lighting fire under players and making them feel the heat, because he can cut anyone he wants at any time, especially this time during the preseason. So, London, happy to see. I know that you like Matt Nagy. You like to see that he's agreeing with things that you said. Any more thoughts and maybe like something else he could do differently as a head coach in order to get this team, get that fire back under guys and make them feel the heat that they could be cut after next week's Titans game?
Yeah, the defense, I think, was the biggest thing, the lackluster effort that everybody saw. And a lot of people in the comments saw it too, because I heard a lot of people saying, yeah, dude, the lackluster effort was just terrible. Okay. I do want to hit on something that Coach Desai came out with and talked about, since, he's the defensive coordinator. A reporter asked him in a press conference after the game about the age of, the Danny Trevathan, the Akiem Hicks, the Khalil Max, and some of our best players on defense being, closer to their 30s or past their 30s. And is that a problem with, their effort and just keeping them healthy in their body? And Coach Desai came out and said something really awesome, that I want to start with. He came out and pretty much said, he goes, I don't care how old you are. I don't care who you are. if you're past 30, if you're under 30, you are on this field, you should be playing 100%. If you're not playing 100%, you will see your way to the bench. Okay. And a lot of players love Coach Desai. He's very forward. He's very direct. He's all about teaching, not criticizing, which is a huge thing for a coach and something that a lot of players have talked about online and really love him for that. And that's something he's saying. They saw, and Coach Nagy, they saw the lackluster effort that happened. And I guarantee you, because I've been on a team that we had a lackluster, performance, I guarantee you tackling drills are going to be tough. They're going to be long, and it's going to be a lot of them. Okay. Because this team can tackle. And when we do tackle, we are such a dynamic team. And Mitchell Trubisky does not rip us up with, 7-yard passes if we tackle those guys in the open field, and other teams also. So I honestly really do like what Matt Nagy came out and said. I think, behind the scenes is more when he needs to, scream at the players a little bit and find his leaders and be like, hey, let's get this going. I don't think it needs to be at the media, but I do like that both of them said and acknowledged the lackluster effort that we saw on the defensive side.
Totally agree. Happy. Thanks for bringing that up, especially from Sean Desai as well. It shows that the coaching staff is not taking anything lightly this year. I think that's something that's been missing the last couple of years as well.
I agree.
From the Bears coaching staff. So 2 more quick updates. Eddie Goldman was back at practice today after suffering a sore back last week. Good to see him. Bilal Nichols, though, was out with a toe injury. So it's nothing serious according to Matt Nagy. Good to hear. And then finally from the defense, the Oakland Raiders, it is confirmed that the Oakland Raiders called the Chicago Bears this past offseason to try to make a deal to bring Khalil Mack back. Or I'm sorry, the Las Vegas Raiders. Wow.
Yeah, the Las Vegas
Raiders. Yeah, the Las Vegas Raiders. Called the Chicago Bears this past offseason, offering a deal to bring Khalil Mack back to the Raiders organization. The Bears rejected, obviously. London, did the Bears win the trade? Yes or no? Like it's just
oh man. I remember when because there was Oakland Raiders back then. I remember when all the Oakland Raiders fans, and I know a couple of them, even the state of Wisconsin, were like, "We won the trade, Khalil Mack, blah 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 blah." And then guess what? They go to Vegas.
You're calling us back.
Yeah, it calls us back. I love it. No, I'm glad that we denied it. I'm glad that leaked because it can finally put to bed the whole who won the trade, even though if you break it down, we won it by a mile. But I love that. Good stuff. Good Monday stuff. Talk.
Good Monday. And then just quickly update on player injuries. Bob Nichols is out with a toe injury, nothing too serious. Patrick Scales tweaked his ankle against the Bills. He'll be back hopefully later this week. Javon Wims is out with an oblique injury, so not really helping his case to stay on the roster. And Cole Kmet is still dealing with hamstring tightness. So that is day 18 of Chicago Bears training camp. The Bears take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville this upcoming weekend, so stay tuned for that. But with this episode, my name is Nick Brody. I'm joined alongside my co-host and good friend London Beth, and we will see you guys tomorrow.